Hello, my name is Christos Katsanos. I'm from the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki, Department of Informatics. I'm a professor there. I'm here to present you our work entitled PSS-UQ-GR, a first step towards standardization of the post-study system usability questionnaire in Greek. I was happy to do this work with Nikolaos Tselios from the University of Patras and Alexandros Liapis from the University of Peloponnese. So we know that perceived usability affects user experience, and we mainly use questionnaires to measure perceived usability, such as the system usability scale and the PSS-UQ, which are the most popular ones currently. There is an increased need for their availability in many languages. Particularly, we need standardized instruments in other languages than English, and in specific, we are interested in Greek, where we know there is in the literature a standardized version of SUS in Greek, but this is not the case for the PSS-UQ. So our research goal was to assess the validity and reliability of a Greek version of the post-study system usability questionnaire. And here we can see the original scale. This is a scale proposed from Lewis, and it includes, in the full scale includes 19 items. Unlike SUS, it is multidimensional. It provides an overall score of perceived usability, but also 3 scores for the system usefulness, information quality, and interface quality. The scores range from 1 to 7, and lower scores correspond to higher usability. Moving on to our study methodology, we follow the standard procedure to translate and back translate the questionnaire. 2 HCI experts were involved with a mastery level of knowledge of English and 15 years of experience in UX design and evaluation. The translation procedure in specific involved the first expert translating the scale from English to Greek. The second expert took this translated Greek scale and back translated it to English. They then met to reconcile differences, and we pilot tested the questionnaire, and we did a psychometric evaluation with a larger sample size. Regarding the translation procedure, this is the final translated questionnaire in Greek. All in all, the experts had a rather good agreement. Of course, there were some differences in their translation. For example, regarding the word satisfied in items 1 and 19. The first expert translated to the Greek word ευχαριστημένος. The second expert back translated it to happy, and they decided to use the Greek word ικανοποιημένος in the final version of the Greek scale. Moving on to the psychometric evaluation, we explored the factor structure, reliability, and validity of the PSS-UQ-GR scale. We involved 359 participants with a balanced sample size in terms of gender and various ages from 18 to 77. The participants were asked to perform 3 tasks in 2 websites, 3 tasks for each website, a ministry website, these are the 3 tasks, and an eGov portal, these are the other 3 tasks for this website. After performing all the tasks in the websites, they completed a questionnaire that included questions regarding demographic information, the standardized Greek version of SUS, and the PSS-UQ-GR. Moving on to the results, here is a first factor analysis of the results. We can see that there are items forming 3 factors with the strongest loadings provided in bold. For instance, factor 1 in both websites, which is associated with the system usefulness subscale, has most of its items here. For instance, here almost all the items correspond to this factor, but there are items, for instance, item 6 here, that do not align with their expected factor. We wanted to have a Greek scale with item factor alignment similar to the original English scale. So we did additional factor analysis by first dropping some items. Our strategy was the following. In the first round, we dropped all the items that did not provide the strongest factor loading with the expected subscale for neither of the two evaluated websites. These are the items colored in red here, 6, 12, and 15. For instance, we can see that item 6 and all the 3 ones here do not associate, do not contribute to the strongest, to the factor that is expected, factor 1. Here we can see that they both contribute to another factor. Another step we took was to drop the items colored yellow here that did not provide the strongest factor loading for their expected subscale in at least one website. For example, we can see item 7 that does not align with its expected factor for website 1, but it does for the second one. So we also dropped these ones. And finally, we dropped item 18 because it contributed equally, almost equally to all factors. And this is not the case. It should align with the third subscale, but it did in the Greek version align with all. So we dropped this item. I should note here that item 19 is not used in any subscale. It only contributes to the whole subscale score, so we kept it in the Greek version too. Here is the final scale with 12 items, and we can see that all the items contribute strongly to their expected factors. So this is a scale in close alignment to the English one. We also did reliability analysis using Cronbach alpha. Typically, we need a value at least 0.70. So we have really strong reliability here. We can see that it's rather high for both the scale and all subscales. We also explored the validity of the PSS-UQGR scale with 12 items after the factor analysis. To do so, we compared the scale scores with the scores provided by the participants for the SUS scale, which was measured concurrently with the PSS-UQGR scores. We found strong and significant correlations. Of course, they are negative because the PSS-UQGR scale scores means the lower they are, the higher the usability, which is vice versa for the system usability scale. So this is why there is a minus here. And we also did an additional analysis. We converted the PSS-UQGR scores to the scale of SUS, and we found that they were really close, which also supports the validity of the translated PSS-UQ scale. To conclude, the 12 items of the PSS-UQGR scale and all its subscales were found to be both reliable and valid, and with a factor structure similar to the English scale. This provides new instruments for the Greek HCI community, which is particularly important because we only had the standardized SUS scale in Greek. Future plans include further investigation, larger scale studies to standardize the new scale, investigate associations between PSS-UQGR score and interaction performance metrics, and finally investigate the effect of various factors such as visual computer competence and prior experience with the system on the PSS QGR scores. Thank you very much. I'm Christos Katsanos, and here is where you can contact me. Thanks a lot.